Governor Rick Perry will be in El Paso tomorrow to get an update on recovery after days of torrential rains and floods. The downpours took their toll on the CBS television station there. Floodwater roared into the 60-year-old building from everywhere, and it forced the station off the air.
Memories for us of Tropical Storm Allison. We had water we were sloshing through just outside of the studio here, and now we're watching Chris.
That's true, and Chris is passing north of the islands in the eastern Caribbean tonight. The good news is it didn't strengthen during the daytime. We're going to put the radar from Puerto Rico in motion for the last 24 hours. Watch the right-hand side of your screen. You'll see the center of the storm come into view. There it is. And then passing north of the islands, north of St. Martin, and north of the Virgin Islands tonight. As a matter of fact, the center is about 95 miles north of St. Thomas. And if you watch carefully, you saw right at the end there a little bit to the turn to the left. If anything, it's wobbling a little bit south of due west at the present time. But the good news is it certainly hasn't strengthened, and it's not much better organized tonight than it was 24 hours ago. This gives you the broader look now from the satellite, and then we're going to put everything into motion now for the last 24 hours, and you'll watch the center pass north of the islands, and that green line would indicate the past track of the storm. And the center at 19.8 north, 64.9 west. Winds are still at 60 miles an hour. So where's it going to go? Well, we still think it's probably going to move west or west-northwest for the next 4 or 5 days, which would put it into the Florida Straits or in central Florida or by Jamaica sometime on Sunday, and it could be in the Gulf of Mexico sometime on Monday. I emphasize now this yellow area. That would be this cone of uncertainty, and we would expect that about 65% of the time the hurricane would follow on a track that would stay within side of that cone. About 35% of the time the track of the hurricane could be outside of that. I think it's very important for you to note that when we make a forecast, the forecast actually has two parts. Number one, you forecast a track, but the more important part of the forecast is the second part. What is the uncertainty in that track? And that's what that cone of uncertainty is trying to illustrate for you, and you need to take that into consideration as you make your decisions. So we're going to be watching this system very carefully. Right now it's not strengthening, and there's a good reason why it's not strengthening, and I'll show you that in a minute. Why are we getting all those showers over the western part of the state? Well, a low pressure system in the upper part of the atmosphere that's been around West Texas now for several days is drifting towards the north, and we had a few showers over the western part of our viewing area. Another hot day, 101 up at Dallas. Locally we were 93 degrees. Here is a big picture, and this is a storm system that is going to determine what happens to the strength of the storm. That's a low pressure system over the Bahamas. Also notice that big high over the east that's been causing the heat wave. Well, that high is going to start drifting back to the southwest. So as the storm clears this area in the Bahamas, it could come underneath that high, and then it would move westward across the Gulf. So the big key to our forecast is what's going to happen to that low, and there's several alternatives. I'm showing here that the low is going to stay there, which means the storm probably isn't going to do much until we get to the weekend, and then it comes underneath the influence of the high, moves west, and it could strengthen some at that time. Forecast in the morning calls for mid-70s. Tomorrow afternoon, let's call it a 20% chance of an afternoon or evening thunderstorm, and we'll stay that way through the weekend, although I think there's a good chance that on Sunday we might see a few more showers than we saw today or we're going to see tomorrow. But Chris is a very unusual storm, and we're going to have to watch it. Yep.
All right, thank you.
The crisis in the Middle East saw the most forceful response to date from Hezbollah.
Militants fired more than 200 rockets into Israel and set a record today by getting one rocket deeper into the country than ever before. One of the rockets killed a man from Boston who had been living in northern Israel. He was on his bike trying to get home when a warning siren went off. Israel has 8,000 ground troop soldiers in Lebanon.
In Iraq, explosions on 2 soccer fields killed 14 young Iraqis. 11 of the victims were killed by hidden homemade bombs, the others by mortar shells. Police say the dead ranged in age from 15 to 25.
Time Warner Cable is moving out, but who is moving in? And will you have to dig deeper into your wallets?
Plus, have you been to the Galleria lately? We'll give you a look at the retail renovation.
Model year clear. You're watching Houston's most watched late news. This is 11 News at 10.
Time Warner Cable is tuning out.
The cable company is cutting its connection to Houston, and Comcast, the nation's largest cable company, is moving in. Just like Time Warner, Comcast is hoping to provide the same features, digital cable, internet, and telephone service. But after making calls today, we learned those services cost more in other cities.
The switchover will happen sometime early next year. By the way, in a customer satisfaction survey, Comcast ranks below Time Warner and the industry average.
Hey, can you hear me now? Singular says the service is back up. The company says a glitch in the system affected service in the Houston market and in other parts of Texas.
Part of the Galleria has undergone a retail renovation. Our cameras got a first-hand look at what is being done to the space where Lord and Taylor once used to be. The remodeled area has 3 new restaurants, new shops, and a children's play area.
The president's finally getting reporters out of the White House. The White House news briefing room has been described as cramped, dirty, even a fire hazard, and a home to rats, but finally it's getting a makeover. The room is getting state-of-the-art technology and wider seating accommodations. In the meantime, White House news briefings will be held in a building across Pennsylvania Avenue.
Texans running back Dominic Davis says he might not be ready to start the season.
So it's something new, and I have to deal with it.
And Oklahoma kicks 2 players off the team. Butch has details next in sports.
Palais Royal gets your kids back to school. Save 25, 30, 50%. At Palais Royal, get your back to school style all on sale. Oh yeah, it's Palais Royal back to school.
I don't know if I
On the sideline, watching the action is not what the Texans had in mind for running back Dominic Davis. Hello, everyone. I'm Butch Alcindor. When the Texans drafted Mario Williams #1, they put the running game in the capable hands of Double D, but he needs to be healthy. And so far, he's hit a couple of bumps in the road returning from knee surgery. Now, Davis went to visit an independent doctor in North Carolina, and after the morning workout, he gave us the 411 on the knee.
I have a little light bruise on the inside of my knee, and that'll take a little time, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 6, but I just need to get off of it. And but the good news is that I never tore nothing. I don't have to have another surgery, and the outside part of my knee is feeling great. I'm not feeling anything on that, so that's good news.
Meanwhile, Mario Williams also set out the morning workout. His middle toe is infected, but the good news is it wasn't the toe he had trouble with during minicamp. So rest should help out the big guy. Meanwhile, most of the Texans veterans players got the afternoon off. And according to 11 Sports reporter Matt Musil, resting the vets is part of Kubiak's philosophy.
The wear and tear of 2-a-days in the scorching heat can get to any football player. So at Camp Kubiak, they're trying a different approach.
Coach Kubiak has certainly endeared himself to the veterans on this team, as periodically he gives them practices off. That would be totally unheard of under head coach Dom Capers.
One of the biggest reasons I do it, and really Mike taught me this, is he says when you have the confidence as a coach to sit some of those guys down and go practice, what you're doing is you're telling the rest of your team and those young guys, I got confidence in you.
This was my first day off, and I needed it. I mean, it was right to the point where I felt like my body was going to break down, and coach is smart. He knows some guys been in this league 10, 11, 12 years, so he knows, you can't beat them up if you want them to be here for the whole season.
But you know the game by now. If you played 10, 11, 12 years, you know the game. The biggest thing for you now is just stay healthy and just get through the season and be able to stay fresh. And I think that's what he's doing, trying to keep the older guys fresh so he can just go out there and compete at a high level.
Kubiak assures, though, that if the veterans ever take advantage of his policy, he can always drop it. Matt Musil, 11 Sports.
And, of course, for the most comprehensive news on Texans camp, log on to our website at KHOU.com for the latest on the Texans. Well, the Oklahoma Sooners suffered a huge loss, and the college football season is still a month away. Quarterback Rhett Bowmore and offensive lineman J.D. Quinn apparently got paid from a car dealership for work they didn't do, which is a violation of NCAA rules. Well, the Astros are out west facing the Padres for the second straight night. Right now, trailing 1-0 in the fifth, but after a Todd Walker error, Willie Taveras singled, scoring Brad Ausmus, tying the game at 1 apiece, and it is still 1-1 right now in the fifth. Turning to soccer action, the Houston Dynamo hosted the Dynamo from Carolina when the sprinklers came on. It was so hot the fans didn't mind tonight. They also liked this. Alejandro Moreno with the header. Dynamo went on to win it 4-2. And in the nightcap, it was El Salvador facing Honduras. Sergio Mendoza passing to Luciano Emilio, and that's a goal for Honduras. And they hung on to win it 3-2. Now, also today, former Elkins star Kip Wells got his first win with the Rangers. He was traded from the Pirates to the Rangers as they pounded Minnesota 10-2. Of course, he was a big-time player at Elkins, and now he's back in Texas with the Rangers.
Wrong team. Thank you.
Up next, rolling out the red carpet for a hometown screening.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Star Furniture.
Grammy-winning singer Beyonce is back in her hometown of Houston promoting a new movie starring her sister, Solange.
We were at the Magic Theaters in North Houston for their walk down the red carpet. The movie is called Bring It On, All or Nothing, but don't look for it in theaters. This one's going straight to DVD.
No further comment is necessary. We'll go straight to The Late Show with David Letterman. It's coming up next. Sleep tight.